Murphy, please help me welcome to the stage Summer Campbell playing Mozart's Piano Sonata, K545.
Wonderful work, Summer. You know, this is a very difficult sonata. I don't, you know, it's incredible to me that some people say, oh, this one is an easier one. Like measure one's easy. Once you get past that, it's just No, and you're doing such a wonderful job with this. All these scales, all the things you had to do to work on your different levels gets you ready for a piece like this where you have to do it all. Can you tell me, what are you currently working on with your teacher with this piece? Like the last few lessons, what are some things that you guys have been working on together?
So here, whenever it like goes up and down with the scales, when it starts with the D and changes,
Yeah.
that I speed up a lot. So we've just been working on that, slowing the entire like section down.
Okay. Do
and
you
then
ever
my
do any
trills.
work with Metronome?
Yes.
Summer. Thank you for your honesty and vulnerability. I mean, working with a metronome, it's like, a metronome is the most honest friend you can ever have. But it's like that friend that tells you, I know I need to hear that, but I really don't want you to tell me that right now. That's what the metronome is. I would encourage you to develop kind of a healthy, realistic relationship with a metronome. You don't want to get to a point where it's just always there, but I think some of that could be very, very helpful for you. And when you do practice with a metronome, don't just practice in one tempo.
Okay.
Practice it slow, medium, up to tempo. Don't just, often people will just cut it on to practice slowly, but practice it at different levels at that tempo. Awesome. What else are you and your teacher working on for this piece?
All of the trills.
All the trills.
All of them.
No lie, I was going to compliment your trills. They sounded very clean.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Mozart is very hard. Mozart is it's perfectly beautiful. It's just the most perfect, not simple, but it's beautiful in that it's uncomplicated. But the fact that it's uncomplicated makes it complicated because there's nowhere to hide, much like the piece that Clayton played. You don't get anywhere to hide behind.
Yeah.
When we get Rachmaninoff in a minute, we're going to hear a lot. We're going to get to use more pedal. But here, you don't get that type of luxury. So other than trills, any other big things that you've been working on for the past few weeks?
These kind of like these sequences here where like, I don't really know how to describe it. When it transfers back and forth equally between the left and the right hand, I've been I'm left-handed, so I've been kind of heavy with the left hand there, and not picking it up, and I just kind of,
Yeah, okay. So I want to work on maybe two things just for a few moments. I heard your wonderful page turner advise you to breathe. How wonderful. I don't need to even say anything about that. So let's go to the beginning. I want to actually kind of go a little bit further with a concept that I work with Clayton on. So it's, again, rhythm. So this piece is in common time, which is 4/4, right? So again, I'm not a huge advocate for feeling yum, bum, 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 ba-da-da. It's heavy. What might be a better choice? If you had to pull back a little bit and feel larger beats. Let's try it in cut time. So cut time is where you feel the half note getting the beat. Okay. So it's like yum, bum, 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 ba-da-dum. Okay? Now to that, we're going to add this dynamic. Outside, I want you to feel it in two, okay? Inside, not on the outside of your body, not with your head or your hands or your feet, but it's as though your very blood vessels, okay, are feeling the subdivision. So deep inside of you, you're feeling taka, 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 taka. Percussionists do this so well. We can learn from them. So outside, you're feeling big circles, big motions. Yum, bum, bum, bum. That's what we'll see, the stateliness of this piece. But inside, you feel where every single microbeat is. Okay. I don't think I can do that much longer. I was never good at double tonguing. So let's try that, okay? Outside, large beats. Inside, micro subdivision. Good, Summer. Why don't we just take the first two measures and play with those, okay? Would you mind if we slow it down just a tad bit? So let's only think about the big beats for one time. So we're just playing the first two measures. All I want you to think about is yum, ba dum, ba da da dum. Very good. Now, The slur. Tell me about the slur.
So it's a, like, are you talking here?
Yes. Do we have one slur over the entire phrase? Do we have, how is it, I know you and I can both see it. For their sake, how does Mozart write it?
So it's just kind of, it's the phrase line, so all of it, it's supposed to, like, how we explain, especially in class, is like, it's kind of like a sentence. It's supposed to sound like together. It's not supposed to sound like two separate things. It's just flows together as one, and it ends on the quarter note there.
So it's two measures. Everything she just played is under one slur. And again, guys, I'm going to sound like I'm picking on pianists tonight. I'm picking on myself more than anybody else. We have a tendency to overlook slurs because like we learned that it means legato, and then okay, we just play the notes. Singers and wind players, they will often see those slurs. That's one breath, and then you breathe at the end of it. A string player, if we have any strings with us tonight, that's where they change their bow. So that whole phrase, if this was a violin playing, it would be all in one bow stroke. And Mozart was also a fabulous violinist, and perhaps more than anything else, he's known for his operas, you know, all the wonderful operas. So all that is going into this sonata, not just the piano. So if I was getting nitpicky, I would say I heard maybe a period at the end of your first measure. Okay. Can you make it so that those first two measures are all one sentence? Yeah,
like that?
I think you can lean even more into the B.
Okay.
Yum, bum, bum, ba, da, da, dum. Yeah, I love your wording with with it being a sentence. I'm going to use that. Whoever your teacher is, thank you for that clue. So that B natural, it gets a little accent mark, okay? Mm-hmm. So why don't we say if this is a sentence, maybe that's the adjective.
Okay.
That's the word that has the most meaning in the sentence. Or maybe the verb, that's the active word. I'm not sure what your sentence might be. Might be fun. I'm not going to ask you to do it on the spot. But maybe actually make this an actual sentence. What word would correspond to each note? And there's something interesting about that B. One, it happens on the downbeat. It's where we change chords, and then we relax the tension and resolve back to C. So can you illustrate, help us to understand that B is so important, but not just because it's a B with an accent, but because it has real verbal interest.
So I'm a little confused.
Okay.
What you're asking.
So I'm going with the analogy of seeing the entire phrase as a sentence, okay? Mm-hmm. If it is a sentence, then that would mean every note is a word in the sentence. So let's say that this note B is the most interesting word in the sentence. Okay, it's the word, maybe it's, you know, I'm going to the, I'm really bad at thinking about this on the spot, you guys, but I'm going to a very interesting city. Okay. I'm going to the city. This is my first time in Gulf Breeze. It's so charming, guys. I spent like an hour this morning at the nature reserve. I wish I had a week to just walk around there. It's just, what a beautiful community you guys have. So we're in a beautiful community. The word beautiful is that B, as opposed to we're in a community. Well, that's nice, isn't it? It's like we're in a community. We're in a beautiful community. We are in a we're in a community surrounded by water. We're in a cold community. We're in a hot community, whatever the modifiers might be. Why don't we go with beautiful here? Okay. We're in a beautiful community. And emphasize that in your playing, okay? Ah, there it is. Yeah. There's your answer. Like, what? Yeah. Great job. Here's another thing that I have come to believe, guys. It's hard to give it a number, but I'm going to go with 80% of what we do is mental. Physical, yeah, we got to spend the hours on the piano, but so much, you did that in the moment. You didn't need to practice doing that for 2 hours. You did it just like that. You just changed the direction of your thoughts. And isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. Like what the human brain, mind's on music. There it is. You just proved it. Okay, let's work on another concept before I run out of time here. Now, you have a hand. It looks a lot like mine. Yeah. You've got 10 fingers. That's great. You can achieve different sounds on the piano, especially this glorious Steinway that you guys get to practice on here, with different parts of your finger, okay? So what I would like to play with, let's take just the left hand. Again, we're just going to take the 2 measures. Okay. If you can do it over the first 2 measures, by the way, then you can do it in the entire piece. Instead of more of the tip of your finger, can you play more with kind of the squishy pad part? So here would be the tip part. I would... it's kind of a pointed sound. Let's go for a little bit more squishy, softer sound. We get. Can you try that? Good. Now do the opposite. Do it with the bony tip. Okay. Now let's integrate our breath and do the squishy part. It might feel like you have a little bit flatter fingers. I'm not saying have flat fingers. Goodness no, but it's like more of your finger is touching the key. Great. Now the top voice, the right hand, can you add, I don't want to say play with the bony tip, but add a little bit more bite in the sound. That there's this moment of sting, yum, bum, bum, bum. So we have this clear melody. Okay. Try only the right hand, please. Good. A little bit slower. Yum, bum, bum, bum. Great. Now let's put them together. So the right hand has one kind of touch. The left hand has a little bit different, a little bit softer kind of touch. Nice. Now let's add one more element to it.
Okay.
Again, I'm throwing a lot at you, and you're handling it beautifully. You're brilliant, and doing this is so hard, y'all. It's just it's hard in a lesson, but it's harder when everybody's watching. But man, they're learning a lot from you. Okay, we're all familiar with this plane. This is the plane that we usually have on the piano, right? But we also have this plane and this plane. We have this. You can push, you can pull. I would like you to feel like you're pulling the sound a little bit. Okay. It's almost like you have a piece of Velcro on your finger, and maybe there's like a Velcro piece on the key, and there's some resistance. It's not, you're not stuck, it's not tension, it's just a little bit of resistance. So can you feel as though you're pulling the sound towards you, okay? Good. Keep going if you would. Start from the beginning, keep going for a bit. Good. Pause right there. So this left hand material there is a place where we can experiment with pushing. Often I find with chords they have a more forward direction. This left hand, yum, yum, bum, yum, bum. Could you try only the left hand there for measure 5? Yum, bum. So physically move your hand towards the fall board. Yeah. Here, I'll kind of sing the right hand so you can accompany me. Forgive this terrible, whatever this is going to be of me singing. Let's go measure 5 together. 1, 2, ready, and bum ba da 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 da. Yes, you supported me so perfectly there. Thank you. Now support yourself. Your left hand is going to be this pushing kind of thing, and the right hand pull the phrases. That was lovely. It just gives you something to think about other than, okay, I got to play this hard scale up and down. I don't know what it is about this piece, but playing an F major scale is easy. But for some reason, playing an F major scale in measure 7 is really hard, right? You could play an F major scale like in your sleep, but all of a sudden there, it just feels tricky. So this feeling of pull, it gives you somewhere else to put it, other than just notes, right?
Yeah.
And the other clue that Mozart gives you, of course, is this here, this crescendo diminuendo. Okay? Do you have any questions for me?
Just one, and I've always struggled with it.
Okay.
Is this trill here, it uses 3 and 4, and I don't know why, but I struggle with that, and I end up having to turn my wrist almost like this.
Now, this is where I might, part ways from some. That is an editor's opinion that you should use 3 and 4 there. And that editor clearly was built differently than you are. He had different hands than you, right? So it may not be comfortable for you. Find a fingering that's comfortable for you.
Okay.
Seriously. If the only thing that I would be interested in if I were your teacher is, does it sound good and does it feel comfortable? So it sounds good, but it doesn't feel comfortable. So we need to change it, okay? I had a wonderful teacher that I actually played in a Masterclass with once, and he had me do something real weird. I was playing a Schubert song with a singer, and he had me take some notes with my left hand. And I asked the question, I said, "Are you allowed to do that?" And he said, "If it sounds good for you to take a note with your nose, then do that." So to that I would say, whatever works. If it sounds good and if it feels good, go with that. I might experiment with 2 and 3, or even 1 and 3, and then you can end up on your second finger there. But if 3 and 4 isn't working for you, chuck it out. Try something else. Okay, Summer, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Clayton.
Okay.
What is something, not that you like about this piece, but what is something that you do well, that you love what you do? I love that I do this with this piece. I am saying this.
I really love like the way that I play this. I feel like it's very hard to like not mess it up, but it's easy for the notes to get almost like sloshy, kind of like blurred together, I guess.
It's a tricky part. The harmonies are changing very fast.
And I think after practicing enough, the way that each note stands out, I think I do well.
I love it. Yep. Always have that in the back of your mind. Even when you're suffering with the metronome of like, oh, I just can't get... Think about, this is something I do well. This is something I say well. And let that be your kind of badge that you wear on your forehead. So even when you're feeling frustrated, if those moments come, you know that's your purpose. And you know you're always doing that well. Bravo, Summer. Wonderful. Wonderful.